just some unbelievably remarkable audio from Mary Landrieu. She wants to make sure that we don't vote for dumb fences. Listen to this audio from Congress. Got 613.
So I would be voting against Senator Thune's amendment because I'm not going to waste taxpayer money on a dumb fence. And that's what his amendment would be.
Dumb fence.
We need to build a smart fence. Mm-hmm. And a fence is not just a physical structure, which can be built out of a variety of different materials with or without barbed wire on the top. A smart fence, which is what Senator McCain and I want to build, since he's from Arizona, I think he knows a little bit more about this than the senator from South Dakota who doesn't have a border with Mexico, but only Canada, and that's quite different.
It is quite different. I don't want to vote for a dumb senator. I want to vote for a smart senator, one that knows that South Dakota does not have a border with Canada. That would be North Dakota, not South Dakota. North Dakota, as Mary, I'm sure will point out, is the one where the big heads of Lincoln, Garfield, and Taft are on.
Polk.
I believe
They just added Polk.
Yeah,
James K. Polk is
James K. Polk is there.
Just
he was
been
a
added.
good guy. So
just outside of Bismarck.
Mary, you might want to have your facts together before you start calling people stupid, but maybe that's just me. Steve King from Iowa is another guy who is under attack because he is part of I know it's not a gang of 8, part of a gang of 70 that understands that any bill on amnesty that is going to be passed, no matter how good it looks in the House, will have to go back for reconciliation. They will strip all of the good things out of it, and they will add all the bad things from the Senate that John McCain, John Boehner, Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, and the president all want. It will be reconciliation. Then the Republicans will all vote against it in the House, but it will pass, and you will have amnesty. And Steve King is one of the 70 that are standing up and saying nothing can pass. And he's with us now, one of the real true good guys. Hi, Steve. How are you, sir?
Well, good. Thanks for having me on, Glenn. And I want to say that I am for a dumb fence. I want a plain old dumb fence like anybody in Iowa or South Dakota knows how to build. We have them every mile. Let's build them strong. And we say in Iowa, horse high, hog tight, and bull strong. And, a dumb fence doesn't have prosecutorial discretion. It just stands there and keeps people on one side or the other. That's what we need to do. It's pretty simple, and it's dumb not to realize that.
Prosecutorial discretion is a hot button with you. Explain what that means.
Well, President Obama has declared that his executive branch has prosecutorial discretion, which means that they can choose who they want to apply the law against and who they decline to apply the law against. And it is a pretty well-established legal reality, and I accept that they can't enforce on every single lawbreaker, but it needs to be enforced on an individual basis only. And what he has declared is that there are 4 special classes of people that have come into the United States illegally, and that they're going to and refuse to allow ICE to enforce the law against people that fit those categories by declaring prosecutorial discretion.
What are the 4 categories?
I don't have them quite committed to memory, but it will be within this of came into the United States before their 16th birthday, had entered into in school or received a high school degree, GED, had entered into the military, which would be illegal, by the way. And there's one other category there. Then in those categories of people, they're not going to enforce the law, and he's manufactured out of thin air a work permit that he is currently handing to people that the law requires ICE to put into deportation proceedings, removal proceedings.
So all of this was basically done on the back of a napkin. This is not an executive order or anything. This is completely out of the framework.
It is out of the framework. It's not an executive order. I will call it an executive edict on a memorandum that was issued by John Morton, who is the director of ICE. And yesterday, the president of the ICE union, Chris Crane, who is the lead plaintiff in the lawsuit against the administration, I asked him, when I'm approached by an illegal alien in the hallways of Congress, and when we see them brought into the Judiciary Committee room and they're introduced as illegal aliens in the United States, what can you do to enforce the law? And he said, I can't. I'm prohibited by the directive from the president through Janet Napolitano, is that I can't even go into a jail and deport someone who's violating our immigration law.
Okay, you had yesterday in your office, I saw your tweets, you had tweeted, 20 brazen self-proclaimed illegal aliens have just invaded my D.C. office there in the Capitol. The president's lawless order gives them de facto immunity from U.S. law. Who were these people and what happened?
Well, I don't know. Some of their names, they came forward and said what their name is, and it may have been their names that they used. They were a group that are self-professed dreamers, as they call themselves. They claim that they were brought into the United States by their parents, and so it wasn't their willful act. And they came into the office, about 20 of them. And, our office is busy. We schedule sometimes 3 meetings simultaneously, and we take them in different areas. They filled the office. There was no room for people to come and go. They refused to leave. And so that went on for, I think, according to their tweets, 40 minutes. And then the Capitol Hill police arrived and asked them to leave. And so their Capitol Hill police's antenna, I think, was pretty good. But they were wearing graduation gowns and mortarboards. And I just thought it was very disrespectful. And when you get to the point where people that are by law directed to be placed into deportation proceedings, if they are so brazen that they will fill a member's office and then demand that we legalize their illegal activity, there's something about mercy. And if you look through the Bible, mercy is not the province of the civil government. It's the province of God. And mercy is always accompanied by repentance. Now, I saw no sign of repentance yesterday. It was a demand. And that's what we're dealing with. If we can't secure the doors to my office, if we can't secure the doors to a congressional office building, how in the world does John McCain and Chuck Schumer think we're going to secure the borders?
There is an important. You're calling it a press conference, and I kind of want to know why. An important press conference. Others might call it a rally in Washington on Wednesday, and you have asked all the Tea Party members, and I said last night in my opening monologue, we asked the Kurds to stand up under George H.W. Bush. Stand up against Saddam Hussein and we'll protect you. And then when they did, we didn't send the planes, and they were all slaughtered. You have 70 members of the House that are standing up and saying, pass nothing in the House. The House must not pass anything because it's a Trojan horse. And we will get amnesty if the GOP cooperates. And you are asking people now to stand up and come and make sure that our warplanes are up in the skies and we surround the Capitol, or we at least call the Capitol and let everybody know we are watching you and you're not to do this. All of the Republicans. Why is this a press conference, not a rally? And what is it that you want people to do, even if they can't make it even?
Well, Glenn, we need to have orderly demonstrations here in the Capitol. Part of our First Amendment rights are orderly demonstrations, and this is under the categories of requesting a permit. I had to request a permit like this, as I did for the 3 large Obamacare events that took place about 3 years ago, and the conditions of that are that for this type of demonstration, it needs to fit the definition of press conference. And we're going to stay within the ethical guidelines and do it as a press conference, but it's going to be the longest press conference likely held in the history of this Congress. And we want to have an open dialogue. If people, members of Congress in particular, but also there will be some other folks that come along, and I hope that includes you. I'm going to provide that forum so that we can project out into the public the other side of this debate, the other side of this argument. And so I ask people, yes, come to Washington, be there present at the press conference, be respectful, listen, learn, weigh in when you can. And I think that we'll be able to project this message out through all of the media, including C-SPAN, if they will cover it, and let the people in America understand that if you grant a legalization process, the ultimate result of that is amnesty. If you grant amnesty, you can never promise that you can enforce immigration law again, ever. That's what we've already learned from 1986. This just reinforces it. The House and the Senate plans, as they seem to be emerging. Let me say first the Senate plan. It really does grant perpetual and retroactive amnesty. Perpetual meaning that even if you come into the United States after their deadline, there's no prospect that they're going to enforce immigration law against you. And if you have been deported in the past, it actually is an invitation to come reapply and come back to the United States. We really didn't mean it. So it destroys what's shaping up here, destroys the rule of law in the United States completely with regard to immigration. And the disrespect that flows from that means that we can never be this great nation again where we're all equal under the law. You know, they used to say that, and probably still do say that, when it comes to the French government and the streets of Paris, when they start to riot in the streets always win. Well, that's a nation that can't sustain the rule of law. If we're going to let the streets win in this country, we can't sustain it either. I think that is a terrible blow to an essential pillar of American exceptionalism, the rule of law. And to refurbish that again in our lifetimes, our children's lifetimes, our grandchildren's lifetimes, so improbable. We must stand our ground now.
Okay, there's the open forum debate between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m., and then a break. Tea parties are doing a protest or something for the IRS between 12 and 2, and then back outside for more debate between 2 and 5. And you can find all of the information. Hopefully it should be up on the Blaze now. I know it's on the screen behind me as well during this interview. I want to go one more place with you. Mark Kirk and Eric Holder last week. Do we have the audio clip of this by any chance? You don't need it. There's a theory that PRISM and other data gathering tools are being used by this administration to gather information about the private lives of lawmakers in Washington. I have Senator Lee on Monday, and he said that John Roberts was pressured. And he believes he can make the case that he changed his vote at the last minute and pressured. And now I'm not sure he's making the case that PRISM was used, but I believe that PRISM, I mean, look at the people that we have in charge of this information. Very bad, nefarious things are going on. Do you believe that that theory is accurate, that lawmakers may have their personal lives being looked at through things like PRISM and being used to apply pressure?
You know, Glenn, I can't say from a factual perspective. I can tell you that I believe the capability is all out there to track all of our Internet activity, and not only our emails, but any Internet site, any website that we might go to. Of course, the telephone records, we know that. The credit card records, then the IRS can be focused according to their search engine. We know that Barack Obama put together a very sophisticated analysis to profile people for election turnout and voter suppression activity. I will tell you that I had a private conversation with one of the Democrat strategists who told me that they knew what websites and what communications the political competition was going to, that there was a massive amount of information that was available to them in that type of a strategy. And so if that
Could you repeat that? I don't think I understand. I think this is new information. Could you repeat what that conversation was?
I can. I won't identify the individual, but I had a discussion with a Democrat strategist who told me that that it was amazing how much information they knew about the Republican candidates that they were managing campaigns against, and that they knew what Internet sites we were looking at. And I presume that also included emails, but I'm not certain of that. So that was a pretty chilling thing to go into my ear.
How did they know that?
Because of I didn't get down into that question, but
let's don't speculate.
Similar to PRISM.
We should probably look into that. We are a little overwhelmed with everything that's going on, and now we're talking about the drums of war with Syria, which is equally as frightening as anything else that is going on now. I appreciate, Congressman, your hard work and your diligence. Would you do me a favor and leave the American people with just an idea of, if they don't watch your back, if they don't watch the back of these 70 diehards, what happens to you guys because of your stand here?
Well, the path that we have and our effectiveness in Congress will be marginalized and diminished at a minimum. It's possible that we could lose committee positions or lose gavels and those things. But the best protection that we have for standing up for the Constitution and the American dream is the support of the public. And I know that if I'm going to be bold and strong, I have to have a nationwide fundraising network in order to be independent from the dependency of the party, and I need to have a national media presence so that if they come after me, America will know it, and Americans need to step up and defend. And it's about the cause. It's about the principle. For me, there's an easy path to follow in this Congress. You can show up and vote and follow the directions that are here. The other one is follow your conscience, keep your oath of office. That requires an active public that's as vigilant as you ask your members of Congress to be.
Okay, let me ask you this. When will we get the names of the 70 that we can publish? I know that you guys have been holding those names and that letter kind of tight because, the pressure is going to start going on. When will we get that list of names of the 70?
I just had a discussion in here within the last hour or so, and at this point I'm of the opinion that I don't want to release them for fear that they might be targeted as well. And yet, if they get released, we're going to defend those folks as much as we can.
Well, you let me know. We'll publish when you guys are ready. You do the right thing for the Constitution and for these members. But I certainly would like to be able to have these guys recognized at some point for the courage, or if any of them peel away the weasel that they have become, so we can watch them and track them and find out exactly what they caved for. Whether that's something from PRISM or if that is something that they get as a piece of candy from Boehner and others afterwards. Thank you very much, Congressman Steve King from Iowa. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you very much, Glenn.
You bet.
We see you next week.
Thank you, sir. I don't know how you take your Wednesday and just go, but if you're anywhere in that area, you need to. If you're anywhere in the D.C. area on Wednesday, this is extraordinarily important. If they don't feel, and if you're in California and you can't make it, you need to call. You need to call every House member that you can. You need to call everyone. You need to call Boehner's office and say, don't you dare present any legislation in the House, because any legislation on this is a Trojan horse. Don't you dare do it. And you tell every House member, don't you dare pass any legislation, because there is no goodwill on the other side. They are not honest brokers, and it is a Trojan horse. You got to stop it. It's at the Capitol next Wednesday. Show up. They will pass it this summer. They're going to try to pass it by 4th of July.